If you want to make pain melodies or really sad melodies using piano, this video is for you. Let's use Keyscape to start off. We're just using a grand piano with minimal effects, if any. Okay, and let's right click. Let's open up the piano roll. The main thing is using minor. Okay, minor second, minor thirds. So for example, even if we didn't have the fifth in the chord, we could just play the minor third, which is D, F, and then you could reinforce this with D in the bass. And that could be your sound right there. And just spread those notes across. Okay, it's mainly just about spreading everything. So that's not even a full chord. Technically, in the old definition of a chord, it's 2 notes or more. So technically, it is a chord. But if you wanted to make it a full minor, it would be D, F, A in that case. It's a little dark. So what we could do is open this up a little bit by spreading out the octaves. So let's take this third, it's called, pull it up an octave. Okay, so that's a common technique in EDM and sad music as well. Just pulling that third up 1 octave. So before we start making this complex, let's just get the chords right. We're gonna hit Control up so we can hear this octave. Okay, so we're gonna follow this and assume that it's the middle note of some chord. Okay, so we're gonna go to F. Now in this case, F, A is our major chord. So let's see if we can. And then let's get the timing right. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, like that. Dun, dun. Okay, so mainly it's just about getting the structure right. Then you could go and harmonize it. Dun, dun. And that's that. That's a major second in this case. Okay, now we're assuming that D is the middle note of some chord. Now in that case, it would make it a diminished chord. But instead of using diminished, let's see what else we can grab here. That does give a vibe. It sounds better just as a triad. Okay, so another thing, let's start revoicing this. Let's take the thirds, pull them up an octave, Control up. Okay, so that sounds pretty cool. Let's just take these bass notes, the bottom note, and reinforce it an octave or 2 down. And then we're gonna do this. Now that was an accident. I forgot our root note was B, but G sounded pretty cool because that would make that a major. So it kind of switches it up a little bit. But just experiment with the last bass note. A lot of people overlook the bass note and they forget that the bass note can change the whole chord context. I can make this, for example, a dominant 7th chord just by making the bass E, or by making the bass G, pardon me. That makes that a dominant 7th as opposed to a regular diminished chord. Let's just keep changing the bass because it sounds cool changing that note. That doesn't sound right. We already have D in that chord, so B is probably the best option here. Now let's pull everything down. It's a little hard to show everything in this screen, so we're just repeating notes in different octaves. This is a low octave. Okay, so before we add the human touch, which is the humanized script, let's go over here and let's start adding melodic notes to keep this moving. So let's turn the metronome on. So we're gonna do a lot of da da da. And let's pull these notes up an octave. It's something about these high notes feel like they're part of the melody just because they're in a separate octave. So don't be afraid to raise your notes up an octave to separate them from the chords. Now let's copy this whole chord progression and change out the last chord. So instead of diminished, let's do different chord types. To learn these, we have a whole course called Music Theory Magic. Go to busyworksbeats.com/music theory magic. Let's try out different chords. Firstly, let's try out the augmented. This is more of an R&B technique, but let's just at least try it. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And let's take that third up an octave. That's more dramatic. I would use that more in film score than I would in this type of beat. Okay, so another thing you could do instead of diminish is use a dominant chord. So this gets a little complex. So what I'll do a dominant ninth, where B, D, and F are the third, the fifth, and the seventh. We're just going to add G and A basically. Okay. Add these in, and then we'll revoice this to have a raised fifth and a raised ninth. So now it's more R&B-esque. Also notice that we're playing really slow. Let's change out those ending notes. And then you can copy this over and then add more melodic jumps. So let's do dun, 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 dun. And my ear wants to hear this, so I'm overriding my older decision here. And it has that R&B feel because of that A sharp. And now, since I already used that kind of surprise element, we can pull it back down to A. I liked it the way it was, so maybe I'll resolve to a different note here. There we go. Now we just add reverb and we're done. So reverb, there's 1,000,001 reverbs. I'm just gonna use the reverb in this plugin. And you can add shimmer for a pitch effect on your reverb. Let's raise this up an octave. I'm gonna show you a bonus technique for more of a haunted sound. So we could send this sound to a reverb and then we're gonna halftime the reverb. So this gets a little complex, so follow me here. We're gonna open up another mixer channel, open up a reverb. Let's add Fruity Reverb 2, for example. We're not gonna get too complex with the type of reverb. And then we're gonna add halftime after the reverb. So let's just use this plugin here. And this is basically halftime. It's free. You also have Gross Beat. Let's send the piano to this channel. And now we're gonna have a haunted sound. I'll mute the original piano so you hear just the effect. And then we could blend the effect in. So now we have another layer of. Let's pull it down an octave. I'll let the beat play. right, now we're going to transpose the key so that we are not just sounding like a typical chord progression. We could hit shift up and shift down. F minor is really good, or E minor. And I think the first chord we used was D minor, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, D minor. So we could pull these up to E or F minor. All right, if you want to learn more, go to busyworksbeats.com/music theory magic. There I'll break down a lot of free stuff for you. And I'll give you free chord code chart, scale code chart, and a mode code chart for free. So go to busyworksbeats.com/music theory magic. Peace.